Good morning, Bitcoins, and welcome to MadBitcoins, live from CoinCongress in San Francisco. We're joined by Josh from BlockCypher. How's it going, Josh?
Very well. This is a great conference. It's great to be here. Great to be interviewed by you, the MadBitcoins guy with the hat. Can I just say MadBitcoins? I shouldn't use the full name, right?
You don't want to reveal my secret identity to my potential enemies, who could be anywhere.
Anytime. You have to constant vigilance.
So what are you guys doing over at BlockCypher?
BlockCypher is we're a Bitcoin, or actually I should say more generally, a blockchain infrastructure company. We're like an Amazon Web Services for blockchain. So if you want to build an application that leverages Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, or even want to use a sandbox test environment, instead of downloading Bitcoin Core, you can use us. And in addition to all of the sort of responses that you expect, we have things like on-chain microtransactions. We have a confidence factor that lets you judge the likelihood of a double spend against an unconfirmed transaction. We have payment forwarding, some nice multi-sig like helper functions, and we can even do a little bit of transaction signing to help you, take away a lot of the difficulty of the transaction signing process at scale. So we just released an HD wallet API as well, so you can just import a single public key, and we'll continuously watch addresses. You can run a webhook against them and get updates, and our webhook infrastructure is also pretty awesome. So
hold on a second. You have a reputation system, so if I bring you a Bitcoin address, you can tell me if that address is likely to be a good one, a bad one, double spender? What kind of thing is that?
No, it's more like, it's not really like a reputation on the address, it's more on a transaction by transaction basis. So we don't know anything about the addresses, we don't know anything about who's spending what. What we look at is structurally what a transaction looks like. So how many inputs and outputs does it have? What sort of scripts are embedded in it in the outputs? And then we look at how it propagates over the network. So with that information in hand, we can make a really good assessment, an informed assessment of whether it's likely that someone will both attempt a double spend and whether that attempted double spend will be successful. And the neat thing is, every time a successful double spend happens, we see it, and then we adjust our confirmation factor to anticipate that attack vector in the future.
So double spends are still a problem for Bitcoin?
I actually think they're becoming less and less of a problem because of products like ours, but also other folks have their other solutions wherein you can accept unconfirmed transactions, but as long as you view it as a risk mitigation strategy, like, okay, I'm going to accept an unconfirmed transaction.
So if it was like $1 billion and I sent it to you unconfirmed, you wouldn't accept it?
Would not accept that. No.
Even if it was from me?
Even if it was from you. I don't want to say especially if it was from you, but even if it was from you.
It does seem very unlikely that I would have $1 billion, but if I'm fronting it, it must be true, right?
That's right. But I think that's the right sort of mental model about unconfirmed transactions, is that for certain amounts you never want to, I'm not going to buy a car or trade Satoshi's Genesis coins, his Coinbase transactions. With no transaction confirmation. I'm going to wait until many confirmations of it occur. That said, if I'm like our own microtransaction on-chain microtransaction API, we support that up to roughly 4 million Satoshis, which is around $9, currently.
Now, how do you do microtransactions on the chain? Because I was told that was impossible, that it would be too many transactions for Bitcoin to handle.
Well, so currently, it's not. I mean, in the future, it might be, but right now, the fee structure is actually low enough that we can reliably, by doing some fee optimization, include microtransactions as low as I think it's 2,000 Satoshis, like 0.5 cents, something like that. So it is possible now, but you have to use something. So the way our microtransaction API works, we send a microtransaction on chain, you get a return within 8 to 10 seconds, and the reason there's that slight delay is that we're waiting for our own confidence factor to go up. So once we see that it's above 98, 99%, we're like, okay, great. this microtransaction is very likely to be included in the next block, very likely not to be double spent against, and we're good to go. And so we can effectively have nearly instantaneous microtransactions that we are assured will be in a block in the future based off of our own confidence factor. So it's possible to do it on chain. You just have to basically employ a risk mitigation strategy and understand like how likely it is that someone will attempt to double spend. And when we're providing a microtransaction service ourselves, we have a lot more information about where that transaction is coming from and can make better assessments about the likelihood of a double spend that way as well.
So the same system that you would use to prove that my $1 billion was not real, you would use all the time to prove that all of these 2-cent tips are actually real.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's I think a difference in sort of risk mitigation strategy, right? Like if I do thousands of 5-cent transactions and I lose one or two of them, that's okay, right? But there's this sort of, I guess you could call it like a fat tail problem, where if you're transacting $100,000 or $200,000 $1 million transactions, right? You want to wait for confirmations, because if you're accepting it in an unconfirmed basis, like even if there's only a 0.1 or 1% chance that you get double spent against with that $10,000 or 100 million, 100,000, 100 million, whatever, you could get completely wiped out by that, right? So it's about having like low level or low value, high volume transactions that you can properly mitigate risk for, such that, well, if I lose 1% of these 2-cent transactions, it's built into my business model and I don't worry about it so much.
And what websites can people try this out on right now?
Yeah, so microtransactions work on ZapChain. There are ZapChain's the most prominent, but there are a number of other people that use microtransactions in the background. As I said, there's a game coming out soon that I can't reveal too much about.
Shh! Don't talk about this game that takes microtransactions. It has nothing to do with magic cards.
No, it really doesn't. I swear. No online exchange for Magic the Gathering cards there. But there's and for the confidence factor stuff, what's really cool is you could go onto our live block explorer, live.blockcypher.com, and just click on the Bitcoin icon, go into any of the transactions you see streaming, and you can click on the transaction hash, and you'll see the confidence factor bubble up as we get more confident about the transaction. So there are ways to sort of see it, and the best way to see the confidence factor stuff is actually just to look through our website. But lots of people are using it in the background. BitNet just announced a major integration. Shapeshift is one of our prominent customers. Streamium also uses us to provide confidence factor work as well. So there are lots of folks that are really big fans of the infrastructure that we provide to create like a pragmatic solution for unconfirmed transactions. So
very cool. So where can people learn more about this confidence factor and these on-the-chain microtransactions?
Absolutely. So go to blockcypher.com. It's spelled exactly as you see it on my shirt here. And you can go to blockcypher.com for the main website. You can go to dev.blockcypher.com to take a look at our developer documentation if you really want to get in the weeds, and provide me with feedback, because I wrote a lot of that stuff, and I love to get improvements and make it better. But yeah, they can go all in, see examples, have live JavaScript examples of our API calls, and really just sort of have fun with it. So yeah.
Very cool, Josh. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. And let me know where I can get a hat just like that, because I need it at my next conference.
Absolutely.